Daf Mem Beis Amud Aleph will begin Mem Aleph Amud Beis, 8 lines from the bottom. On Rabbanon, we learned in the Brisa, Achal Tzli Mibai Jaim Chayim. If a person ate roasted meat of the Korban Pesach Mibai Jaim before nightfall, he's Chayim. Ukazayis no Mishach Hashecha Chayim. And if he ate a kazayis of no, partly roasted meat, Mishach Hashecha, from the nighttime, he's Chayim. He's also Chayim. So So it's mentioned together in the Brisa, so there's a comparison between the two. Ma no bilav, just like the eating the no at the time of eating the Korban Pesach, at the nighttime. If he ate the Korban Pesach no, only partially roasted, he's chayiv. So there's a lav, and he's chayiv malchus af tzli bilav. The eating the tzli in the daytime is also a lav. So we understand that the no is allowed because the Torah says, no. It says beferish, it says allowed that you can't eat it, no. And how do I know that roasted in the daytime, that it's also allowed? The more answers it says that you have to eat the Korban Pesach, you eat it on this night. It's only at the nighttime, but not during the day. The Gemara, well, you can imply over here that there's an isser, but this is an inference from an essay. You're supposed to eat the balsa balayla hazet. You're supposed to eat the Korban Pesach roasted at night. So we infer that don't do it in the daytime. But that is a lav habon michlal essay. And any lav that's a bom b'chal essay has the din of an essay, not of a lav. So how can you say over here that this is a lav? The Gemara answers, Amar of Chisda, Hamani, who's the Tan over here? Rabbi Hudi. The Tan is Rabbi Huda. And according to Rabbi Huda, as we'll see, there is a lav that is implied in this case. The Sanya we learned in the Brisa, Shor Oy Vase Sarova Kolot Nedavat Hasois. If you have an animal that this is considered a mum, you can't be makriv on the mizbeach. So if it's a bull or sheep that has one limb longer than the other, or unsplit hooves, you can't be makriv on the mizbeach. But in the Dovid house, I say you can be makdish lebedek habayis and the Dovid lebedek habayis, and it has kedushas donim. So we make a diuk. It says the Dovid house I say atamat lebedek habayis. This is what you can. This type of a animal that has a mum, you can be matpus lebedek habayis. So I say this is what you can be makdish for bedek habayis. But an animal that is tmimim, that does not have a mum, you cannot. It's dafka this and not that. Mikana Amru, we learn out from here, kol matpus tmimim lebedek habayis ayver be'eset. So we learn out from here that if a person is matfis tmim lebedek habayis, it's supposed to be for the mizbeach. If he's matfis the mizbeach, he's over be'esei. Ainly ela be'esei. So I only learn out from here an esei. Belois hasim minayin. How do we know Allah? Talmud loimar. We learn out. The pasuk says Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe leimar. So at the introduction to the parasha, it says Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe leimar. Limer kol parsha kula beloy salsa div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says this lemor, the fact that it precedes the parasha, it introduces it with Vaydaber Shal Moshe lemor. The lemor indicates a loy salsa. Omar loy Rabbi Bar Kapora. Rabbi asked Bar Kapora, my mashma. Where do we see from this that it says Vaydaber Shal Moshe lemor, that a loy salsa is indicated here? So where do you see that? My mash Amarlo answered to see lemor, because it says lemor, which we mean it's a lemor is an abbreviation of loy and nemar b'dvar. No, it says in these matters it's loy, meaning that there's a loy sase. Beirav Amri, in the Beirav the Yeshiva Rav, they had a variation of the drasha. It says lav emor, that what's mentioned over here, meaning the following, what's mentioning in the following, this is a lav. There's a loy sase that's indicated over here. So we see that there's a loy sase. Similarly, by the Korban Pesach, it says, and it says after it lemor. So there's also a lemor, which indicates that there's a leisase. Tesis explains that we only say by this lamor that Rabbi Yehuda says lamor indicates a leisase. That's when we have, in addition, it's a lav abom mechal essay. When there's a lav abom essay, which normally would be an essay, but when there is a lamor, it indicates that this should be treated as a lav. So that's when we say it, but we don't say every case where every time it says lamor, it means a leisase. The Gemara continues, the water used by a baker, it has to be poured out. Tane Chada, we learned in one brisa, that the water has to be poured out in an area that slopes so that it doesn't rest, that it's not sitting and resting over there, because then we're afraid for chimutz. But we don't pour it out in a place where the ground will not flow, and that the water will sit and rest over there. Because then if it does, it's a chashash that the water that's mixed in with the dough, that will come lidei chametz. But Tanya, that we learned in another brisa, sheikh makam ishboren. At another brisa we learned that you could pour it out in a makam that's ashboren, even though it's uneven and it'll have formed puddles. Then you could pour it over there. Lo kasha, the more answers lo kasha hadin nefishe. It makes a difference if there's an abundance of water. There's a lot of water, the kava. Then it'll collect, and we're afraid for chimutz. The second brisa is dealing with a case where there's not a lot of water, there's not an abundance, so it's not going to rest and settle, and we don't have the chashash of chimutz. Amar Yehuda, isha lo yisolish ela b'mayim shalonu. A woman, when she needs the dough for the matzah, it has to be mayim shalonu. What is mayim shalonu? It means water that stayed overnight. It stayed for a 12-hour period, meaning that the water, and typically in the time of Nisan, the water was somewhat warm, the water that was drawn from the ground. So therefore, it had to be rest and cooled off. You had to have it overnight to a period to cool off, because if it was warm, it would hasten the chimutz. So therefore, we have to use that type of water, which is cooled off, which will not bring it to lidei chimutz. So the mashmos from Rashi and other Rishonim is that it's, even though it says lona, which means literally that it rested overnight, it really doesn't have to be davka overnight. It could, as long as it's a 12-hour period, it is a cooling off period. However, it's mashma from other Rishonim that that's not the case. It has to be dafka overnight, where it will be cooler. It will have a cooling off period that it's over the nighttime, which will therefore render it cooler than otherwise. Point being, though, that the water cannot be the warm water, because that hastens the chimutz. Rosh Rav Masya Bepapunaya, he taught this halach, and he taught it Barabim in Ashira and Papunaya, and he taught it to the people. The next day, the people brought their pitchers, and they came to him, and said, "Give us water." Meaning, they understood Mayim Shalono means that he meant to say our water. You can only need it with our water, not your water. You can only need it with our water. So they brought their pitchers to get water from him. So he said, therefore, they said, give us the water. Amar lahu, he said, he said, what I meant to say is not my water that remained overnight. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say that it was water that remained overnight, not my water. So what is really the point of this drasha over here, or point of this memor that the Gemara is telling us over here? It's an interesting story that the words, they misunderstood the Mayim Shalonu, our water that rained overnight. But what is the Gemara teaching us with this Maisa? So Beis Yosef is mashma that it's teaching us that this is halacha, this lacharchila, but the Eved it's not ma'akev, because over here the people did not have the Mayim Shalonu. They thought it meant his water, and they didn't have the water that was lano. So the point is to teach us that this is lacharchila, but the Eved, meaning he would not have, in this case, they would not have kept the people back from having matzahs and baking matzahs the next day. So therefore, as long as that it's a din l'chadchila, it's not ma'akev. The Sfas Emes says another limud that we learn out over here is to teach us that a person should, especially when speaking to Amaratzim, he should be very careful with his lashon, because they can easily make mistakes and make mistakes that other people wouldn't make. So to be aware of the people he's speaking to and of their Amaratzim, to be exceedingly careful. Dorish Rava, he darshans, she should not knead the dough in the sun, and not with water heated with the sun, and not with the water that's at the bottom of an urn or a bottom of a cauldron, even if there's no fire there, but the water that's at the bottom is hot. It retains its heat for a long period of time. So she should not use that water because in all likelihood it's going to be warm. And she should not raise her hands from the dough. And the dough that's going to be put in the oven, she should not remove her hands from it. She should not withdraw from it until she completed the preparing the dough. She should knead the dough continually and manipulate it continually, because the working of it inhibits the chimutz. But if she raises her hand, then it's a chashash that will come lidei chimutz. And the woman that's making the matzahs, she's kneading the dough, she needs 2 kelim, 2 vessels of water. One which she bastes the dough, so she would take from the water of 1 keli to use to baste the dough, and to sprinkle it on the dough. And another one to cool off her hands. Many times through the process of kneading the dough and working vigorously, her hands would get warm, so she would cool off her hands. She can't use the same vessel for both. So the one that she cools her hands off, and she uses 1 vessel for that. That might have, therefore, it might have some flour, etc. So that might come lidei chimutz. So she should not use that to put that water on the one that she bastes the dough. She should use a separate one for that. So he said that you can't use warm water. If she was over that and she did, what's the din? Is the matzah aser or not? Is the dough aser or not? Mar Zutra, Amar Mutri says it's mutar, Ravashi. Amar also he says it's also. Amar Mar Zutra, Minah, he said, what's my raya that it's mutar this? And you learned in the Brisa, Ein Leisam Masa Iron Bepesach. You can't soak the grain, the barley grain, in water on Pesach. We're afraid that it'll come lidei chimutz. And if he did, then we say nisbaku asurim. If it's split, then it's awesome. Lo nisbaku mutarim. But if it didn't split, it's mutar. So what do we see over here? Even though he was over on the Isser D'Rabbanan, he soaked it. He wasn't allowed to. He soaked it, but nevertheless, so long as it was not split, it's mutter. So here also, you're not supposed to knead it with warm water. But if he did, he was over, and nevertheless, it's mutter. That's his raya. Ravashi Amar. He said, "What's your raya? Can you weave everything with the same weave? Where it said that it's mutter. Where it's not said, it's not said. Just because in one case of an Isser D'Rabbanan we say that if he's over is mutter, doesn't mean that in every case of an Isser D'Rabbanan it's mutter. It's only where it's stated. You can't use the same weave for both cases. It's just as a mashal. So therefore, there's no raya from there. These are the items that the Mishnah will list. The following list are items that you're over on Pesach. The way Rashi learns, you're over on Bal Yirah or Bal Yamotze if you have them on Pesach. Now, the Mishnah will list different types of items that have chametz. The chiddush over here in the Mishnah is that we're talking about items which are not chametz ben. It's not like a piece of bread. We're talking about either taruvas of chametz, a mixture of chametz. So it's chametz that's mixed into something else, or something that's called chametz nuksha. It's defective chametz. It's chametz that was from its inception defective. Now, as the Mishnah will explain, these are not considered chametz gomor, and therefore there's no chiyuv koros on them. But it is also ba'achila, and it's also midaraisa ba'achila. The way Rashi learns, ve'elu oivrim b'Pesach, these items are also oiver and bal yaro, bal yamatzah. So it's considered chametz in all respects, except that you're not chayav kares for eating them, because we learn out from the psukim, as we'll see in the Gemara, we learn out from different drashos that it's not considered chametz gomor insofar as the chayav kares, but in other respects it is. And that's the way Rashi learns. The way Taisus learns elu oivrim doesn't mean oivrim that you're oiver on bal yaro, bal yamatzah. It means oivrim, they have to be removed from the table. They have to be destroyed. They have to be oiver, they have to be removed. There's tashbisu on it. There's a machlokes how to learn this Taisus, the Riva and the Taisus. Does that mean that, like Rashi, that essentially he holds like Rashi, and therefore there would be an Isser Bal Yaro Bal Yamatzah? It's just and they're arguing on the Loshen. Ve'elu oivrim. It doesn't mean you're oiver Bal Yaro Bal Yamatzah. It means it has to be removed from the table. But essentially, as far as the halacha is concerned, it's the same. It's considered chametz insofar as that there would be an Isser Bal Yaro Bal Yamatzah. Other learned that no, he's actually arguing. He's arguing on Rashi, and he learns that there's no Isser D'Oraisa of Bal Yaro Bal Yamatzah on it, because it's not Chametz Gomer. There's an Isser Achila, but there's no Bal Yaro Bal Yamatzah, but they have to be removed from the table. Midirabanan, Shema Yavalachta, because you might come to eat it, and there's an Isser D'Oraisa for eating it. So, Zak the Mishnah, ve'elu oivrim b'Pesach, these are the things that a person is oivrim b'Pesach, kutach habavli. It's kutach habavli, so it's kind of a dip with sour milk, and it has bread in it. So it's a taruvas chometz. V'sheich ramadai, and the beer in Madai, which has chometz. V'chometz ha'adoimi, and the vinegar, the adoimi, which also has the chometz in it. V'zeisum ha'mitzri, and zeisum ha'mitzri from Mitzrayim. This mixture, the Gemara will explain what it is, there also has chametz. V'zaymim shel tzaboyim, and the zaymim of dyers, that the people who dye things have, that the Gemara will explain in detail what this is. V'amilon shel tabachim, and the cook's bread. The koilan shel svarim, and shel seifrim, and the koilan, the paste of seifrim. Again, the Gemara will explain in detail all of these items. Rabbi Lezer Eimer, says, Av tachshite noshim, even the tachshitim of noshim, the makeup, the cosmetics of women also. That's also included. Zeh klal, this is the rule, kol shemimin dogan, anything that comes from the 5 minei dogin, the dogon, anything that has the minei dogan, the 5 species of grain that has have chometz, harezav, Pesach, you over on Pesach on this. So whether anything that has chometz from the 5 types of grain, whether it's a taruvas chometz or chometz nuksha, you're over. Hare elu ba'al zhara. But these things are only ba'al zhara. They're a lot. You're over on them. There's a lot for eating them, but ve'ein behem mishum kares. But there's no kares for eating them. They have a lot, but not kares. As we'll see in the Gemara will go through the details of this list, which is a taruvas, what are these items and exactly what they are, and it's why it's a chometz nuksha, and how we learn out that these do not have kares, they have an isra but no kares. So the Gemara Tana Rabbanan shleisha devorim ne'amarim bekutach habavli. We have to mention this kutach habavli, this dip that has chometz. So related to it, we say that things health related to it. So what are these 3 things? It clogs the heart, blinds the eyes, and it weakens the body. So Gemara explains, why is that? So it clogs the heart, because the whey, it's made with the milk, and it has the whey from the milk that clogs the heart. Because it has salt. So it has the melech sodemis, which blinds the eye. It weakens the body because the bread is moldy, so it weakens the body. And more will now we continue with the next, the end of the Amud and the next Amud to also talk about certain health items of the different foods involved.